hope that everyone can hear me. I'm so excited to be with you today on this monthly Inspired Insights Live. Today's topic is has life got you down? And the reason for this is because I think that we live in a world where, there's so many different things, right? So you hear in social media and stuff like that, you get the negative comments. So you see all the things that are wrong with the world, you see the anger, you see a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of good things that you see as well. And you also see these instant successes and how everybody is living their best life and all these other things. And I think that in order for us to be able to experience the highs, we have to also experience the lows. It's what makes the highs so much sweeter. And I wanted to share with you guys today, some of my experiences and, dealing with the challenges of life, because I think that for many of us, have been experiencing great challenges in life recently. And life can really get you down. And we can have days where we're not on our A game and where whatever we're going through really is just weighing on us. And they can come expectedly and also unexpectedly. And I remember in law school, one of my professors, Professor Warner, shout out to you wherever you are in the world. Professor Warner shared with us how on the day her dad passed, she had to go to court. And it was, from my memory of her telling of the story, that it was a big day for her, and she just had to kind of shake it off and go to trial. And I remember thinking to myself, God, how just in awe of her, because when your world is kind of shattered, to be able to button up and go out there and kind of show up for someone else despite the fact that you're suffering, and push that suffering aside and focus on something else. That takes incredible strength, and I definitely am in awe of her for being able to do that, and for other people who do that. But there's also the counter to that of us being able to work through our own personal challenges, and for us to be able to work through whatever has got us down, because life can really send some blows our way, and it's important for us to be able to work through them in a healthy way. Because once, you always hear the saying, God doesn't give you what you can't handle. And I really believe that's true, even though sometimes it feels God, really, do I have to be this strong to be able to handle this kind of stuff? I know it can be, quite challenging. And so I wanted to share with you guys some things that really help me when I'm dealing with the blows that happen in life, the lows in life, the things that, I'm an otherwise very happy person, and I think that I have pretty good outlook on life. I see things quite positively, but I do have downs in life that get me down, and things that I go through in my personal life, or I am going through in my personal life. And so I wanted to share with you guys how I deal with things and what's helped me. And so one of the biggest things, and this is in no particular order, one of the biggest things is having a support network to lean on. And this plays into the video that I shared last week about, surrounding yourself with people that lift you up and don't bring you down. And, this is really interesting because people who love you want to be there for you, and they want to lift you up. And as long as you're not the kind of person that is having, there's a delicate balance here, because we all know the people who are always living in personal crisis, and that is exhausting for everyone involved, because then it's kind of like Stuart who was the boy? Stuart Little, I think, the one who said that the world was falling so many times that then people, when it actually was happening, people weren't listening to him. They weren't available to, they'd heard it so many times that they weren't really engaged, or it wasn't something new to them. What he said, his words kind of no longer had had power. But so it's not abusing the network you have, but being able to lean on the people in your inner circle and in your network when you are in times where you're struggling. And, one thing also to recognize is you don't have to share with everyone the intimate details of what you're going through. And this also deals with boundaries, right? You need to be able to understand what you can share with people, what you but what you're willing to share with other people. It's not everyone's business exactly what you're going through. Some people who are more in the circle may be privy to more details, but you can share that you're going through challenges in your life, that you're dealing with some family things or whatever it is, if you need extra support. And I think that I've really seen in my own life, when I've allowed people to be there for me, they show up in the most amazing ways that I just really can't. There are really no words to describe for me the gratitude that I feel for the people in my life who've shown up for me when I'm dealing with life's challenges. And I think it's also because I don't abuse that power. I'm also there for others. Everything doesn't have to be quid pro quo, but life is a dance, and sometimes when someone's strong and somebody else in your circle needs to be pushed up, it's a beautiful dance in this life that I really think that we as human beings, we've become so isolated, but we really are a tribe. I don't care whatever our differences are, we're all connected, and part of being connected with one another is lifting one another up when someone needs to be lifted up, also celebrating together. It's all about being there for each other. And so, when you are going through these tough times, allow yourself to reach out to or share with the people in your life. Allow them to be there for you, because having a shoulder to lean on and cry on if you need to is immeasurably helpful. And people want to be there for you. You just have to give them the opportunity to be there for you. So it's holding that space and knowing that we don't have to deal. It's so funny because, just because you're strong doesn't mean you have to deal with it all alone. And, with respect to sharing details, everyone's going to have an opinion about what you're going through. And that's where you decide what you share and what you don't share. But also it's good to hear other sides. So, that's one thing, is really just lean on your support network. Another couple things that I wanted to share is that so often when I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders and I felt that I needed to carry alone, these are other methods that I seek help. This is one, and I've been very open about it, is therapy, is seeing someone on a regular basis. Your friends and your family, are going to be there for you, but having also a sounding board in a therapist who has your best interests at heart, who can see things objectively without the emotional charges that possibly other people in your life may have, that is really, really helpful to have therapy. And also the great thing about therapy is you process the emotions that you're feeling. And that's another topic that that's one of the points I'm going to touch on a little bit later, not too much later, is, the emotions that we're feeling, because you need to be able to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling, feel the feels. Journaling, this is a really great one. Someone shared with me recently, one of the great things about, thanks Sandy, one of the great things about journaling is that, and one of the reasons why we journal, it's if someone gives you a complex math problem, you can't do it all in your head. And life presents us with complex situations. And it's by us putting pen to paper, I mean, you could type, but there's something I saw something about how neurologically it's good for you to put pen to paper. And so by putting pen to paper and working out whatever you're going through or whatever's on your mind, you're giving it a space to go to. You're letting it go. You're letting yourself see it. You're taking things out of the situation, and you can work through it in that way. We talked about it, asking the right people. Another huge one, and this for some reason has become like a touchy subject, but I don't think it's that touchy, is I ask God for help. Honestly, I just have been putting more and more things in God's hands and just, what do they say? Give it to God. And I've been leaning more and more into my faith of, that we have a divine creator and that I can ask this beautiful, whatever created all of this that we're surrounded by. I'm leaning more into asking God for help when I'm chewing on situations, when I'm dealing things, when it feels like everything is just too heavy and I don't know what to do. I've gotten on my hands and knees and prayed for help. And I think that this is a beautiful thing. Our connection to God is an amazing thing. And so leaning into that and asking for help, and I just see how that has brought incredible miracles into my life. So I think that leaning into the divine is a beautiful thing to do, where whatever you believe, I believe that we're not alone. And I'm grateful for all the help that I get when I lean into that higher power. And then another exercise is also asking your subconscious for help, because our subconscious mind is constantly answering questions. And so when I'm really chewing on things, I'll just ask the questions. This is also with putting pen to paper. I've talked about this also other times. Putting pen to paper and writing questions of things that I'm dealing with, because your brain or our subconscious just works that way, that it works through questions and it answers questions. And so one of the main things that I wanted to touch on with this live is dealing with our emotions, right? We are emotional beings, and especially when we're dealing with heavy things in life, like it comes up. I am a reformed non-crier. Like when I was younger, I always sucked it up. Like the only time I really ever cried was when I was seriously injured, when it came, or with like Disney movies. In movies I would cry, but when I was hurting, I would shove it down because I wanted to be strong. And I heard something recently which said that emotion is energy in motion. That means when you're experiencing these emotions, it needs to come out in whatever ways. Like you need to allow yourself to release what's going on. For me, I feel it welling up in my chest. It feels like I get pressure here when the emotions are needing to come out. And, obviously there's a time and place to burst out into tears. And if we don't deal with these things, then they kind of do, they do come out because you've kind of like held it up. It's kind of like a powder keg. Eventually it is going to explode, and it's not going to happen in the best ways. So allowing yourself that, like, if you need to let out an emotion, whether it is crying or something else, like you need to like be like, whatever it is, that you can give yourself the grace to step away and let that emotion out. There's other ways to let out emotions. Working out, for example, go for a run, do a kickboxing class, punch a pillow. I don't know whatever it is that you need to do. Like, yourself and what you need, but allowing yourself to let out the emotions. Another big one is breath work. The power of the breath is just really incredible, how you can regulate your nervous system. You can allow yourself to release things through breathing. Working out is something I mentioned, and this is a cool one that I learned about the other day, and it really is something that I didn't even think about, but it's something that I apply. Letting out the emotions through creative avenues. And it's interesting because everybody thinks creativity is just like drawing or whatever, and you can be creative in multiple ways. For me, on the creativity front, one of the ways that I let out emotions is just singing. And you could sing in the car, in the shower, whatever. You could also be creative in an oral argument or writing or whatever it is. Creativity has so many different expressions, and it's not always the typical drawing. It could even be in gardening or whatever it is. For also with the emotions in that, like I will say, for me, spending time in nature, that really helps me kind of find peace when I'm feeling turmoil. And then one of the biggest ones is time. Time tends to heal all wounds. Every day is going to be a little bit better than the last day. And I think that especially when we're dealing with heavy things such as loss, you're going to have, it's going to kind of be like a seesaw. You know, you're going to have days that are great, and then you're going to have days where you feel really down, and that's okay. And you just have to take days, every day, one at a time. You have to give yourself the grace to heal. You have to allow yourself to heal. I think you have to just be present and allow yourself to experience what you're experiencing. Not get frustrated with yourself, because I know the feeling. Like, it's frustrating when you're feeling down and you just want to feel better. You know, we talked about this a month ago. Sometimes when you're in the swamp and you can see the horizon, it's really frustrating, but you're still in the swamp and you need to get out of it. Time and each step that you take is going to get you there. And so really what I wanted to share with you is that, like, with time and just in general, like, you know, think of your wounds as wounds that need to heal. Maybe today it was a cut that was gushing, and tomorrow it's, you know, you stitched it up, and tomorrow it's a little more healed, and with every day it's better and better. And whatever you're going through in life, because we're all gonna experience our share of challenges, just know that you're not alone, and you don't have to go it alone. There's another resource that I heard about, is if you really are in a situation where you do need to reach out to someone, and maybe you don't feel like you have someone to reach out to, you can dial 211. That's a great resource. That'll get you in touch with mental health counselors, and they can help you. They're not your friends or your family, but you have that resource there. You are never alone, and time and all these other beautiful resources that I shared with you are there for you. So be loving with yourself. Know that the down times don't last, just like the highs don't last either. And I think that each of them has an important role to play. And if I shared some tips in here that were really helpful for you, I'd love to hear from you what was helpful. And if you have other tips or things that help you, like creative expressions that help you release your emotions, or other tips in line with what I shared today that you could help other people with, share those in the comments below. I'd love for you to join in on the discussion, because we're not alone in this. We're all here together, and you'll get through it. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.